What's up guys? In this video we're going to add the other three tile types to our ground, so we're going to get it looking pretty good. So let's go into our constructor method that we were working on before. Basically what we want to do is we want to change this name right here for our image. It has to change depending on the location of the tile. So if we go into our assets, you'll see that we have 4 different kinds of tiles split into 2 different kinds of kind of variables. So we have grass versus ground, and we have 1 versus 2. And those are the only 2 differences that we can have between our tiles. So let's create two different variables for the tile type and the tile number, combine them, and then give that to our SKSpriteNode constructor to create that type of tile. So let's start with the tile type. So we're going to say var tile type, and it's going to be a string, which we are just going to leave undefined for now. So we know that for our grass tiles, they're all on the first row of our ground. So if we remember, I is what represents the row that we're currently on, and j represents the column that we're currently on. So if we say if I equals 0, tile type equals grass. And we know that because I represents our row, and anytime we're on the first row, it's just going to be grass. And then everything below that, we can just say tile type equals ground. Awesome. So that's pretty simple for our tile type. Now for our tile number, this is going to be an int, which we're not going to define just like we did above. And we're going to say if j modulus 2 equals 0, tile number equals 1. So a lot of you might not have seen this modulus kind of operator right here. What modulus does is it takes the number you give it. So let's say this was 5, and we did 5 modulus 2. It's going to give us the remainder after you divide those 2 numbers. So 5 divided by 2 is 2 goes into 5 2 times. It's going to be remainder 1. So if this were 6, it would basically just be like division. So 6 modulus 2 would just be 0. I mean, it would give you the remainder still, but it would just be 0. So the reason we do this is because we want to get the even and odd numbers for our tiles. This is a really good way for differentiating between the two. So basically, anytime you do modulus 2 and it comes out as 0, the number you gave it was an even number. And if anytime you give it an odd number, it's always going to come out as 1. So if we say else here, tile number equals 2, we're going to get a nice kind of switch off pattern between the tiles. So it's always going to be, we're going to get ground 1, then ground 2, ground 1, then ground 2, going across each row. And the reason we have this is because j represents our column, and the columns move across each row. So awesome. Now that we have both of these, let's combine them. So we can say var tile name equals tile type tile number. So doing this backslash within these quotation marks is an escape character that we can use to just combine these really easily. Basically, it will take whatever you put in the parentheses and stick that into the string. So we did that with the tile type, tile number, to combine them, make a single name. So last but not least, we can just replace this ground 1 with tile name, and we should get something that looks pretty good. So if we did everything correctly, it should give us the ground right here. And sorry, I'm just looking at the right here. We have we can just make this a constant because we never actually change it. But yeah, so now we have a nice looking ground here. We still need to change the animation a little bit because you're going to see that it's going to skip back as we, you can see it has that little like jiggle right there. We're going to fix that in just a second. And for you guys, you might see a little bit of brown right here at the top. I already changed this, but if you close out of this and you go up here and you just change the UI color from brown color to clear color. That will get rid of that brown for you. So now that we've done that, let's go and fix the whole animation. So the reason it's skipping back and forth is because if you think about it, if we have an even number of tiles going across our ground, you know you have ground 1, then ground 2, ground 1, ground 2. There are times you'll have ground 1 and ground 1 at the end, and it's going to repeat this value. So that's a problem because it's going to look like kind of a break in the ground. So we're going to define a new distance to move instead of this minus frame.size.width over 2. We're going to say var distance to move equals CG floats. So we're going to cast the number of columns we have, divide that by 2, and multiply this by the k tile side length. And sorry, I'll explain this in just a sec. First, we need to, for our columns, we need to have our columns as a property of the CC ground so we can access it in other functions. So let's go up here and we can say var cols. This is going to be just an int. And right here where we define cols as a variable in the constructor, we can say that. This will just allow us to grab the cols variable just outside in other functions. So what we're going to do is we want to get the distance that's created. So when you lay out all the tiles, you want to get the half of that distance that's laid out. And the reason it's not just going to be the width of our ground is because sometimes that last tile, like I was talking about, is going to go over the edge. So we need to incorporate this. And after we have that, we need to check if the number of columns is even. If it's even, we need to subtract one tile off, and that will be the distance, the kind of the repeating distance that's going to make it look like it's really infinite. So we'll say if cols modulus 2 equals 0 to determine if it's even. Distance to move minus equals k tile side length. So this will rip off one of those tiles, so then you'll have ground 1 and ground 2 repeating on one another. We have to make sure we need to change this in the SK action that we made. So minus distance to move for our move left, and for our restart, we need to say distance to move. So now if we run this, hopefully we did everything correctly. Hopefully I did everything correctly. And if we click, awesome. So you have a really nice looking infinite ground that's going to repeat itself over and over again. So nice job, guys. That's going to be setting the scene. In the next section, we're going to actually create the hero.